Ever imagine, like, overhearing a president just totally letting loose about other world leaders? Really giving it to them?
Oh, absolutely.
Turns out, history's got some pretty juicy recordings. And Bob Woodward, the guy who wrote All the President's Men, right?
Yeah, the master.
He's back with a new book. It's called War.
Yeah.
And it takes us straight into the Biden White House.
It's amazing.
Global conflicts, those crazy decisions that presidents have to make.
The pressure.
Yeah, the pressure. And maybe even, a few choice words along the way.
Well, this is Bob Woodward we're talking about.
Exactly. So today, we're doing a deep dive into war.
It's got.
We're looking for those moments that make Woodward a legend, those behind-the-scenes glimpses.
He's got a knack for it, that's for sure.
He really does. And this book, it's got them.
I bet.
Okay, right off the bat, there's this one story, and it totally stopped me in my tracks.
Okay.
It's about Biden and, you guessed it, Vladimir Putin.
Can't wait.
So Biden's talking about Putin, and he just comes out and says that Putin is, quote, all wrapped up in this myth.
Wrapped up in this myth.
Like he's stuck in this idea of, making Russia like the superpower again.
Right, back to the glory days of the Soviet Union.
Exactly. And it really struck me because it's like Biden sees right through him.
He's not buying the act. He gets it.
Exactly. He's not fooled by the tough guy act or anything. So I'm really curious, from your perspective, what's your take on that? Like, does Biden actually get Putin?
Well, here's the thing, and this is what I find fascinating about war. Biden's take on Putin, it isn't just some surface-level observation.
Right.
It's deeper than that. It's like he understands, the historical forces at play here.
Okay.
Putin's insecurities.
Right.
Even that almost messianic zeal that he seems to have.
It's true. Putin does have this kind of, almost mystical hold on Russia.
It's powerful, and Biden seems to understand where it comes from.
Interesting.
And what's really interesting is that the book argues that this deep understanding of Putin, it's actually shaped Biden's entire approach to Russia.
Makes sense. You can't really deal with someone unless you understand them.
Right.
And speaking of Biden and Russia, you can't ignore the war in Ukraine.
The big one.
Yeah. Woodward doesn't shy away from it at all. In fact, he really brings up this really scary possibility of nuclear weapons.
Yeah, it's the elephant in the room. Nobody wants to talk about it, but it's there.
Exactly. And I think this is where Biden's personal story becomes really important. I mean, the guy lived through the Cold War.
When that nuclear threat was like daily life.
Exactly. So, I mean, how do you think that experience, shapes how he sees this war?
Woodward argues that it's everything.
Really?
For Biden, it's not just some regional conflict. It's this potential flashpoint.
Right, right.
A much bigger global thing.
It's like everything we thought we were past, it's all coming back.
Exactly. The stakes couldn't be higher.
And it's interesting, thinking about Ukraine in 2024, how things were handled back in 2014 with Crimea.
With Obama.
Yeah, back with Obama. And the book War reveals that, behind closed doors, Biden was not happy with how Obama handled that whole situation.
Yeah, he was pretty critical.
Pretty critical. What was it that Biden felt was, I don't know, mishandled or?
He basically thought Obama was way too hesitant.
Okay.
That he wasn't tough enough on Putin.
Okay.
And that this hesitancy, it sent the wrong message.
Projecting weakness.
Exactly. Almost like an invitation for Putin to take more.
And that's fascinating because it explains so much about Biden's, harder stance with Russia today.
He's determined not to make the same mistakes.
He's drawing a line in the sand, basically.
Exactly. Lesson learned,
Yeah, fool me once. Right.
Exactly.
Speaking of those critical turning points, we have to talk about Afghanistan. That withdrawal.
Oh, boy.
I mean, it was just chaos.
It was rough.
And Woodward, he doesn't hold back.
Yeah.
He really takes us behind the curtain on that one.
It's intense.
What does the book say about, those decisions, the pressure that Biden must have been under?
It's like you're in the room with him.
Wow.
Woodward goes through these internal debates, the arguments, that scramble to get everyone out.
It must have been just chaos.
You can feel the weight of it all on Biden's shoulders.
I mean, people's lives were at stake.
Exactly, and he knew it.
Yeah. And now I have to bring up this other thing from the book. And, I mean, it's just wild. Are you ready for this?
Hit me.
So, apparently, Trump sent, get this, COVID testing equipment to Putin.
Wait, what?
To Putin.
I mean, I know things were tense, but...
I know, right? It's like straight out of a spy thriller or something.
It's unbelievable.
Like, what was going on there?
Right. So, picture it. Early days of the pandemic, People here are freaking out, can't find tests anywhere.
Right. Lines around the block.
Exactly. And meanwhile, according to Woodward, Trump's sending this vital medical stuff straight to Putin.
What?
No one could believe it. Apparently, even Trump's own people were like, what's happening?
Wow.
It's one of those things where you just wonder what was going through his head.
It's like, what was the strategy there?
Mm-hmm.
You know? Okay, so war, it's not all just like global power struggles and stuff.
Right.
Woodward, he also gets into Biden on a more personal level. Like, there's a whole section on the legal problems of his son, Hunter Biden.
Right, which, let's be real, that's been all over the news.
It has.
And this is where Woodward is so good.
Yeah.
He shows us that even presidents are human beings.
Right.
With families, with baggage.
It's so easy to forget that.
Biden's dealing with the weight of the world, but he's also got this personal stuff going on.
Of course. It must be tough.
It's a good reminder that no one's immune to that, not even the president.
For sure. And speaking of Woodward, I mean, the man is like a reporting machine. How does he get these stories, like these insider details, the stuff that no one else seems to be able to dig up?
Honestly, it's his process. It's legendary. He talks to absolutely everyone.
Right.
On the record, off the record, he doesn't care. He just wants the story.
He's like a journalistic sleuth.
Exactly. And he doesn't just do interviews. War. It's packed with these diary entries, transcripts from meetings, even personal letters.
Wow.
It's wild. You're basically right there in the room.
It's like unfiltered history.
It really is. It's amazing.
So, taking a step back, what's the big takeaway from war?
Well, for me, it's that leadership, even at the very top, it's a messy business.
Yeah.
Tough calls, imperfect information, consequences you never see coming.
And having to bear the weight of all of it.
Exactly. And war doesn't really give us easy answers, but it does something more important, I think. It makes us think about what leadership really means.
How it affects everything.
Yes, exactly. How profoundly it impacts everyone.
It really makes you think about those pressures, those choices. Like, how can anyone handle that job? It's just... So I was curious, what did you think about Biden's comment about how